Welcome back to GMT on BBC World News. What can aid workers and policymakers learn from climate science about the humanitarian disasters of the future? Could more dialogue help with prevention and disaster management? Well, my next guest thinks so. He is Dr. Randolph Kent, who directs the Humanitarian Futures Programme at King's College London. Well, thank you very much for being with us. Just very quickly, just tell me what this proposition is, this dialogue that you're recommending.
If you take a look at the types of crises that we will face in the future, their dimensions and dynamics, we have to prepare now to meet the threats of the future. That is basically the message which we at the Humanitarian Futures Programme and a growing number of scientists and humanitarian policymakers are realizing.
Slightly sceptical is, let's say there'd been a chat between humanitarian workers, some UN workers and scientists. How would that have helped in a situation like Haiti, for example, where I was just at the beginning of this year? Very,
very important and interesting question. Take a look at the way where buildings were constructed. Why were they constructed as the UN site was constructed on a fault line? Why wasn't that taken into account when these kind of buildings were created? This could have saved literally tens of thousands of lives. And if you take that example and extend it further, literally hundreds of thousands.
Well, I can give you another answer. The reason they were built on a fault line, the reason they were built without proper concrete and so on is poverty. You see, that's not a scientific problem, that's a political problem. Every disaster I've ever covered has actually, earthquakes, I've done Andhra Pradesh, I've done Hurricane Mitch down in South America. The people who suffer in the end are the poverty-stricken, because they are the ones who always build their houses in the wrong place. It's not about science.
I think it's a very good point. No one is saying that one separates science and humanitarian policymakers and ignores the political implications of disasters. To the contrary, it is and has to be, if you like, far greater collaboration, far greater integration of processes, etc. But the key is this. Policymakers, be they political or humanitarian, do not understand and have a grasp of the kinds of threats that we face. Now, you either say it's only political and you ignore the reality that scientists can show the sorts of issues that we need to consider.
Fairly quickly, if you would, where would this conversation happen? You're talking about at top levels between international bureaucrats,
which is the British government. And here, if you take a look at the whole review that is underway in DFID, I think it would be fundamentally important for an organization such as DFID to promote this dialogue from the ground level all the way to the top.
We have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you very
Randolph
much
Kent.
indeed.
And that's all.